Okay, we'll now look at diseases of the nervous system. Our first disease here is Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a form of dementia, and dementia is a general term used for memory loss and loss of other intellectual abilities. Okay, the cause of Alzheimer's disease is not known, but when we look, or when Alzheimer's disease patients are being diagnosed of Alzheimer's disease, there's characteristic, or they notice the presence of the loss of neurons. So there's loss of neurons and synapses in the cortex of the brain. So when they scan the cortex of the brain, they see that some neurons are lost. And there's also the presence of patches or clumps of proteins in the cortex, and also the presence of tangled bundles of fibers, nerve fibers. It means that the nerve fibers, just think of threads, have gotten entangled such that they can't coordinate or they can't transfer impulses properly anymore. Unfortunately, there is no cure for the disease, and it is progressive. It means with time it gets worse and worse and worse until the person eventually dies, because it could lead to death. Now, the symptoms. The loss of brain function results in the following symptoms: slow thinking, behavior changes. That's why at one point you feel like you don't recognize this person again, the person is changing. Confusion about events and time and place. Okay, you'll take someone to church and then the person will tell you later on that he enjoyed the nightclub, right? Asking which nightclub, you tell you that, but we were at the nightclub earlier or something. Okay, he's confused because these days actually in church they dance just much more as in the nightclub, so that person will feel that he was actually enjoying his life somewhere, and then it was not about your church issues. There's difficulty in recognizing people, doesn't remember the people he once knew, and difficulty in speaking, swallowing, and walking. This is as a result of poor nervous coordination. Okay. Now, since there's no cure, at least researchers are trying to find better ways to treat the disease or to delay the starting of this disease, because it usually affects people who are above 60, or sometimes people who are even below that age. Okay, so they will rather delay that it begins, prevent the disease from starting. Otherwise, stem cell research, because with stem cell we can regenerate cells, we can regenerate tissues, or produce or culture them so that we replace damaged cells or damaged tissues or even damaged organs. That's the promise that stem cell research. And therapeutic cloning. Therapeutic cloning means we are cloning certain body parts to use as therapy in curing certain disease or condition. Okay, it's not like the reproductive cloning that we studied when we are cloning maybe sheep, like it was done with Dolly the sheep. That would be reproductive cloning. Here we are attending to a certain condition. Okay, so that will be therapeutic cloning. So stem cell research and therapeutic cloning hold great potential for providing a cure for Alzheimer's disease. Say, for example, if synapses and nerve cells or neurons are missing, we can clone, or we can reconstruct them from scratch from stem cells so that we reprovide them where they are missing and make sure that everything functions again properly. Okay, so that's Alzheimer's disease. The next disease of the nervous system is multiple sclerosis. Multiple for many, sclerosis for scarce. So multiple sclerosis means many scars, because when we look at the nervous system, when we're looking at the axons of the neurons, we notice that they are being damaged, and for every biological system which is being damaged, when it repairs itself, when it heals, it forms scars. So we'll see many of such scars in the nervous system. Okay, so multiple sclerosis is a progressive degenerative disorder of the central nervous system, and that includes the brain and the optic nerve that of the eye that leads from the eye to the brain, and also the spinal cord. It occurs between the ages of 20 to 40 and affects mostly women than men. So women are mostly affected. I don't know if that is what causes their mood swings. Okay, you don't want to tell this to a woman. Okay, so it results in damage to the axons, damage to the axon coating myelin. If you remember, our axon was coated by a substance that we call myelin to form a sheath, myelin sheath. Okay, so the myelin is being damaged, it's being chopped off. That's why you see it appearing this way here. It's being chopped off, and that happens to the nerve cells and in communication pathways. This will obstruct the normal flow of the impulse. Remember, the myelin sheath is there to provide insulation around the axon so that the whole strength of the electricity is kept in there, and that's how it will travel very fast. You get the stimulus, in milliseconds you're already feeling the pain or the sensation. Okay, so that's what happens. Now, what we notice when we observe the nervous system of such people, we'll find scattered patches of demyelination. It means that scattered patches of axons that have lost myelin in the pathways. And this makes it impossible for messages to move, okay, to move through these, what we'll call now heart areas, because there's some kind of resistance to flow of information. They then refer to heart areas. What causes multiple sclerosis? Unlike with Alzheimer's disease, here the cause is known. It is an autoimmune disease. But there's also a catch here. Why does this autoimmune disease start off all of a sudden? Also, the reason or the cause is not known. Now, the autoimmune disease, what is it about? It deals with our immune system. Our immune system is there to protect us, to keep our bodies safe from invasion of foreign particles into our body. But at some point, this same immune system with the antibodies, here it will be precisely the T helper cells. The T helper cells at some point, for some unknown reason, get activated. And instead of protecting our body, because they are like the soldiers of our body, protecting our body, instead of protecting our body, they start chopping off myelin. They start chopping off the myelin, such that it leads to this whole condition of multiple sclerosis. Automatically, they start off that kind of action. That's why we call it an autoimmune. Immune because it had to deal with antibodies, which are particles produced in response to infection, for example, by the immune system. Okay. So, the symptoms. First one, movement, feeling, and coordination and balance are being affected. Okay, because if your nerves your neurons are damaged, then all of these can easily get affected, so that you are no longer proficient with them. You don't move properly, you don't feel properly, you don't coordinate reactions properly, you don't have proper balance. Again, vision is affected, You feel some tingling and numbness because nerve endings are not working properly, or the nerve endings are working properly, but the coordination is not done properly. It means you won't feel properly. You'll feel some kind of numbness, as if you don't feel a certain body part anymore. Sometimes you feel you can get this even with your big toes. I'm not saying that's the cause. At some point with your big toes, you feel like at the tip there it's a bit numb. You don't get it anymore. That's the effect you get when you are being injected with an anesthetic, when you are about to undergo maybe a surgical operation. Okay, you feel some muscle weakness because muscles are not getting proper instructions anymore. You feel some spasms. It's as if electricity is being shot through your body at regular intervals, okay, without you actually feeling, or without it being caused by any specific stimulus, but it just shoots and it's kind of painful. You get that also when you're having tetanus. And you feel fatigue. You have bad bladder and bowel problems because these function most of the time involuntarily. So even your smooth muscles are being affected. You feel pain. Okay, the spasms also give pain. You have poor concentration and you develop memory loss. That's why it's also a form of dementia, just like Alzheimer's disease, because it leads to memory loss. And you have mood swings. Okay, there is no cure, same like with Alzheimer's disease, but it can be managed. And the strategies are healthy lifestyle, eat properly, do a lot of exercise. Okay, eat a balanced diet. And as a tentative cure, stem cell research and biological engineering hold a great promise. Biological engineering leading to the production of interferons, which will counteract the action of the T helper cells to slow down the progress of multiple sclerosis.